friends, this is a Bijou Baker. I'm Maria. Now, I have to tell you, I am so excited for this recipe for you. I'm going to show you how to make apple pie filling, but I'm going to show you how to make fireball apple pie. Now, apple pie, one of the most basic, but there's some tricks. Have you ever had, or maybe you've made an apple pie and you've got a nice big domed crust on the top and bottom, apple pie filling, and then a bubble gap, an air gap? Okay, let me explain why that happened. Apples, and I prefer to use Granny Smith. It's got that nice tartness that goes with the sweets. Apples have a lot of juice. Water. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen is what is released when apples cook, and you're going to get all that juice. It's that oxygen that domes up. So your apples are going to shrink when they bake. You know this. So they shrink. You've got this really bumpy pie crust. Looks fantastic. The pie crust will hold its shape like that as the inside cooks. And then that makes the dome. And if you don't have, you want air vent. You want some sort of holes or designs on top so that the steam can come up. Otherwise you're going to get apple soup. Doesn't sound bad, but not when you want to slice into it and pull out a piece. I've done it. When I first started, I just did everything wrong. It's okay. So to prevent that, I pre-cook my apples and I make them in this wonderful sauce. Then I put them in the pie crust to finish baking. It doesn't always happen. If you cut your apples thinner, you're less likely to have that air gap. It's a crapshoot. As far as I know, sometimes it's happened to me maybe once or twice, but then I started doing this and it doesn't happen at all. So what I'm going to do, here are the ingredients we're going to use for the fireball apple pie filling. 5 to 6 apples, a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, a 1/4 cup of water, 1/4 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 cup of fireball. Okay, yum, right? A couple things I want to point out to you. I got to the bottom of this bottle. Is this not the saddest sight? An empty bottle. I was shy just a bit of fireball for the 1 cup that I needed. I'm not about to trudge off to go buy another bottle. I'll do it, just not today, not right now. So I just topped it off with water. It's absolutely 100% okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to cook about half of the alcohol out. The apples I'm going to do last because they brown. So when I'm preparing, I'm getting my mise en place, things in place. The apples are the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do them now. I have 2 pan sizes, the regular 8-inch pan, then I have a 10-inch pan. That's a fun pan to fill. I don't know which one I'm going to use until I see how much pie filling there is. The pie crust that I made on the last video is still in the freezer. I'm not going to get it out until later, and I'll tell you when and why. And like I said, I made my crust thinner than you might. A thicker crust requires more time. I know you know that. But I just can't wait to show you. So let's play. Fun, right? Okay, I have a towel on them just to keep the air off as much as I can. Now, we're going to start on the sauce. So they're going to be cut up. I'm going to make a sauce, and I'm going to cook the apples on the stove, maybe about 20 minutes. And then as they come to room temperature, that's when I'm going to take out my frozen pie crust and bring those to room temperature. They'll take maybe 5 minutes, but I can't wait for you to try this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take, you know what, let me situate you. I want you to see everything, not me. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get equal parts of my water and cornstarch. This is called a slurry. It's kind of the same when you're making gravy, how you have equal parts fat, flour, and fat, flour, and fluid. This is going to thicken it up, and this is what's going to give it that, I mean, almost caramel-like consistency. So, that's it. It's going to be runny, but once it makes contact with everything, it's going to really thicken it up. All right, that's all I'm going to do. Now we're going to go to the stove. All right, so I got my pan on a medium heat, and I'm going to put my sugar, cinnamon, and brown sugar. And that was not tightly packed brown sugar. I don't know if you saw how it kind of held its shape, but it wasn't really solid. All right, I'm going to let this sit until I see just a little bit of caramelization around the edges. Okay, while that's cooking, I have to tell you, my doctor saw my video on my pie crust, and he scolded me. I said, "You can't watch my video and scold me." He said, "I can't keep my teeth clenched. My jaws won't get the practice it needs to open back up again." Ah! I said, "You're the only man on earth who can boss me around." So, getting back to, that had nothing to do with anything. Okay. This, when this is all said and done, this is the best filling. And if you will make Danish with this filling, oh my gosh. And it's super simple. Well, you can put it in between cakes, of course, in pies. You can put it on top of ice cream. When I'm making a pie, I only cook the apples about halfway. They're going to finish cooking in the oven. When I'm making the filling, I cook it longer to get them soft, because I don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I want it ready to be fork tender, which is more tender than knife tender. Why? Oh, well, because a knife is so pointed and pierced, it'll go through anything easily. A fork takes a little more pressure. So when you're making baked potatoes, you want to use your fork to go in to see how tender the inside is. What does that have to do with the price of rice in China? Okay, it's about ready, so let's go ahead and add the yummy booze. And I just realized I wanted to show you the edges. This will be one of those you're just going to have to trust me moments. How scary is that? All right, I'm going to add the cup of Fireball. And the pan's hot, liquid, it's going to sizzle up. So okay, when you are working with alcohol, you want to keep a low flame. Ooh, that smells good. That's a party in a pan, baby. You want to keep it low. You want to get a really good roiling boil, and you want to let it go, stirring it for about 10 to 15 minutes. You want to reduce the alcohol out to about, well, 10 to 15 minutes would get about 40% of the alcohol or so. So if that's good for you, it's good for me, boy. Okay, let me while it's doing that. So bear with me while I'm talking to you. I don't want to leave this unattended. If you are making a family-friendly pie filling or apple pie, substitute the alcohol for water. If you have somebody is in the 12-step program, you don't want to mess that step, right? So family-friendly, absolutely just as yummy. Add a little bit more cinnamon and reduce the 1 cup of alcohol. Substitute the alcohol for water. You're going to get just as good, okay? Just side note. So I'm going to let this go for a bit. Another thing I wanted to tell you, you're crooked. That's not what I wanted to tell you, but you were crooked. You, not me. If, I forgot. Oh, I use brown. I use brown sugar because I like that molasses taste. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it. The molasses and the brown sugar is going to give it a very good, hearty, homey, warm flavor. You don't have it, you don't want to use it, you don't have to just substitute that with sugar. Okay, we've got a good rolling boil here. It's been about 12 minutes. I'm going to add the slurry. This is going to bubble up so fast, and it's going to thicken up. Holy cracker barrel, I wish you could smell this. See how runny it is? It's okay, it won't stay like that. Okay, that's good. It's thicker, but not quite thick. Now, I'm going to put in the apples. I do hate how brown they get so fast. Make sure they all get well coated. Now the liquid from the apples are going to thin this out, so I want to cook it even more. So to par cook these apples, I'm going to cook them for 15 minutes. They're going to shrink a little bit, and they're going to be halfway cooked. And that's going to be perfect for the pie. All right, this is actually perfect. You can see how thick and gooey the caramel got. Now, I'm going to take it off. You know what? I'm going to bring it over here. All right, I'm taking it off the heat, and I'm going to put it in a bowl to cool off. It's very thick. That's all right, because when it's done cooking inside the pie, the water from the apples will extract and give me a good base. From here, I'm going to add cinnamon. Vanilla. Holy moly, I wish you could smell this. I love it. I love how thick it is. That's just perfect. All right, so as these come to room temperature, I am going to get my pie crust out. Okay, if you want to know when your frozen pie crust is ready to use, reason 573 why I love doing it in plastic wrap. I've had it sitting out just like this. I took it out and I just plopped it. That's it. It's been about 3 minutes, maybe, let's say 5. And I can feel it's pliable to my touch. That's good. This part right here is still a little firm, but I can see that there's a lot of butter there. So that's more than likely why. Your crust is completely ready to use when you roll it, not fold it, but when it rolls. Okay, now you didn't see it right here, it folds. I'm not ready to use that then. And this is definitely gonna fold. I don't want it to fold, I want it to go as a flow. And it is just so easy to use this way. So we'll wait a little bit longer. All right, let's see how it rolls. Perfect. This part folded a little bit. I'm okay with that. All right. I love this part. It's airtight. It is so airtight. You don't have to worry about pieces getting hard. And it's so darn pliable, which means it's so easy to use. All right, I'm gonna get my pie crust, my pie tin. My family, they go to Marie Callender's or Polly's or whatever, and they get pies, and they always give me the tins. I got a ton of these. I usually make a pie and give it back to them. I think they know that. Maybe that's why they do it. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Now, this pie crust will shrink. So I definitely want a generous allowance on the sides. I don't Oh, so soft. So perfect. I don't cut it around the edges. I will cut this part because this part is just excessive. Make my little dent around the bend. Make sure it's hugging to the base is what I'm doing. All right. And then you always pierce the bottom with a fork, just to to keep it from getting puffy. And then fill it. And you can see that, well, I don't know if you can see, but it has thinned down a bit. And that's just from the heat that was in the apples. Now, I want every bit of this, so you will too. All right. Now, this recipe called for, what did I say, 4 to 5? Next time I would probably use 8 if you want it really big, but this is good. Now the top. Now I'm going to push down on to get the air out. Remember, we want air out. That's why we're going to put steam holes in here. And by the way, you want your bottom crust to be bigger than your top crust when you roll it out. Beautimus. I have a pair of scissors that I use just for food. No one knows where I keep it, so they can't use it. Now, I'm cutting beyond the crust. And there are so many ways to decorate a pie. It's quite an art. All right, I am going to just pinch this down a little bit so that they make good contact. All right, as this is, looks kind of weird. Don't worry about it. We're not done yet. As this is, I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for about 10 minutes. I want the solids and the butter to combine and get packed up again. And then we're going to bake it and poke holes in it. But right now, I'm just going to chill it. I lied. I'm gonna bring this up all the way up. And like I said, it's gonna shrink. So when it's done cooking, it's gonna be all the way, probably about like that. That's all right. I'd rather have a better tasting pie. And I'm just folding it right on under it. Oh, see? Let me see. Just folding it. And I always keep a cookie sheet underneath the rack that the pie goes on. In case it does drip out, you don't want to mess the oven. So that's it. At this point, you can decorate the edges. You can use a fork to go along. You can use your 2 fingers right, to give it this look. Let's just go with that. I usually just keep it plain, but that's all right. And for those who love crust, they're gonna love this edge. Just keep in mind of the shrinkage. That's it. Just remember that. And you're okay. All right, chill for 15 minutes. Okay, just for the fun of it, I just rolled out the extra dough and poked the bottom of a tip, pastry tip. Made that the bigger one, that's the smaller one. And then I'm just gonna play with this. I really have no idea what kind of pattern, but doesn't matter. If I can kick it up, I'm gonna kick it up. Then I'll put it back in the refrigerator for another 5 minutes. You could do hearts or, come on, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to. I have the extra dough, so of course, first thing I'm gonna do is play. What is that? That's nothing. Okay, so I have this extra crust on top of the decorating and everything else. Funny thing about crust, it's just yummy by itself. So I'm going to make some strips. I'm going to sprinkle them with cinnamon sugar, and I'm going to bake them. That's it. Just a nice little light snack. And yes, I do keep cinnamon and sugar mixtures on hand. That's it. Okay, you can feel that it's firmer than it was, which is what we want. Now I'm just going to pierce some holes in it. And this is just to let the steam out. You can, there's no, you can do your initials if you want. You can cut out a whole picture or lattice work or whatever. You just want air to be able to escape. All right, and we're going to do an egg wash and pop it in the oven. And this is just going to help it give a beautiful brown. You can also sprinkle this with castor sugar. Castor sugar is just a finer baking sugar. I don't want that, but you absolutely can. You definitely want to get all the crust because it's also protecting it. Okay, now I'm gonna go by again and just make sure that the air holes are deep enough. Again, remember, the edges are going to shrink a little bit. All right, into the oven it goes. All right, that is pretty. It did not shrink as much as it usually does because I put it in the refrigerator to set. The longer it sits in the refrigerator, the less shrinkage you're going to get. That's what I aimed for. I didn't do the impressions as deep as I should have. That's okay, but look at how thick and fluffy the crust is. So good. Oh, these are the pie strips that I cut up. The pie crust. This is just such a good little snack. But what I want to show you, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Can you see how flaky that is? The camera's not going to let me. Ooh. There's a lot of layers in there. I'm going to take a picture, see if that will work. Look at that. That's a good cookie, but that's such a great crust. Yeah. Oh my God, it smells so good. Anytime you make something super hot, lasagna or pies, you really need to let them sit. Let them cool down because the insides are still active and bubbling and working. So once they calm down, everything will get thicker. You know, if I try to cut a slice out now, it'll just drip. You don't want that. I wouldn't. Apple soup. So let it sit, let it combine and reconstruct, and then you're good to go. Man, oh man. I'm gonna lick this. I don't think my jaw's gonna open up big enough, but well, guess who's gonna try? All right, my friends, until next time, happy baking.
Ah, that was fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe.